Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again. Each book is a compilation of features about cruisers and cruise and travel personalities from around the world. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I am delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Dan and Jay, creators of the UK-based blog and YouTube channel, Sail Away with Dan and Jay. Let me set the stage by pointing out that the Wave Awards is the UK cruise industry's premier award. Included are award categories for cruise lines, ships, travel agencies, and most pertinent to the Joy of Cruising podcast, favorite cruise blogger. As you are aware, I greatly appreciate cruise bloggers and vloggers and have written about them extensively. In the books, I call them cruise community champions. Several of the cruise personalities I have featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, as well as the Joy of Cruising podcast, are previous Wave Award winners and finalists. This year's award ceremony will be held in London in November. Most of the 2023 Favorite Cruise Blogger finalists have been featured in the books and or guests on the podcast. Sail Away with Dan and Jay has not, and I thought this was a great opportunity to enlarge my circle of cruise friends, get to learn about Dan and Jay, and share another couple of passionate cruisers' stories with the cruise community. Dan and Jay haven't been at cruise blogging and vlogging for that long, but they have entered the cruise influencer space in a big way. Sail Away with Dan and Jay started out as a hobby, based on a shared passion for cruises and traveling. The cruises aspect of that hobby is relatively new for Dan. He sailed his first cruise post-cruising lockdown. That's certainly not the case with Jay, who first cruised as a child and went on to serve in the Merchant Navy. One characteristic of the Sail Away with Dan and Jay YouTube channel distinguishes them from most of the YouTube content creators I have interviewed. That is, you rarely see them in their videos. When I was researching them, the first several videos I watched, their faces were not shown at all. And when I did finally see them, it was just a brief cameo. However, their voiceover narrative is constant, comprehensive, and very informative. They note on their website, our channel is a little different as we don't feature our faces and therefore don't class ourselves as vloggers. Our videos are cinematic with the aim of showing the viewer as much of the ship as possible. In the midst of their excitement about making the shortlist for the Wave Award, they are also celebrating the launch of their Sail Away Cruise Travel magazine. I'll let them tell you all about that. Now let me go subscribe so I can be entered to win a cruise on the world's only remaining ocean liner, Queen Mary 2. Welcome, Dan and Jay, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Hello, thanks for having us.
So how you both doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good, thank you.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
You know, the weather's starting to change. So what's the weather like in UK right now?
Terrible. We've got a lot of floods at the moment. We've had quite a big storm over the last week. So particularly in the north of England and Scotland, they've got pretty bad flooding up there.
So not good.
So yeah, it's certainly changed here as well.
Well, we're faring a little better. Although last night my wife cut on the heat, and we normally don't cut on the heat until December. But
yeah.
Before we discuss Sail Away with Dan and Jay, tell our listeners about yourselves. Where you're each from, where do you live, what's your background, how did you meet, anything you would like to share.
Okay, so we live pretty close by. So I'm from, we both live in Hertfordshire, which is around 30-40 minutes from North London. It's called what's referred to as a home county. We've been together just over 3 years, been engaged a year. And we met when I was away working at sea.
But that's a long story.
That's a long
maybe we'll come
story.
into that in a little bit, but that's a story on its own there.
But yeah, you're originally from...
I'm from London. I was born in London, moved out of London when I was about 2 to countryside in Essex, and then moved with Jay to Hertfordshire. So I've been around the block.
Yeah.
So let's start with your cruising background. First, Dan, what motivated you to try your first cruise in just 2021? What was the ship?
It was Jay.
And how was the cruise?
So Jay convinced me. So when we first met, I had never been on a cruise prior. My parents had been on many, many cruises, and they kept saying to me, come on a cruise. And I was very reluctant to go on one with them until I met Jay, where his background was in cruising and he'd cruised a lot. So I was like, all right, I'll bite the bullet and go on a cruise. And our first one was on Regal Princess, just coming out of the pandemic. So
it was a staycation.
It was a staycation, yeah, so it wasn't going anywhere. And all of my preconception of ideas of cruising went out the window, and I was like, this is amazing. And I got the bug instantly from stepping on board. And I've not looked back since, really.
Yeah. Now, when your parents cruised a lot and tried to get you to cruise, if I may ask, what was your hesitation?
My hesitation was that my parents loved them, but they were very much, we go to the bingo and there's a knitting class, and they never told it to me in the sense of what cruising could be. So my preconception idea was that it was just boring, unfortunately.
You believe that stereotype that it was just for elderly people.
Exactly. So in my head, I was just like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But like when I got on board, I didn't see a knitting thing in sight or bingo. So I was very happy and loved it.
Now, you said Regal Princess. That's Princess Cruises, right?
It's correct, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. So what was your initial impression of your first cruise?
I loved it. It was the fact that, like I said, like before going on a cruise, I thought that there wasn't much to do, or there'd just be the one main dining room. But when I got on board, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. It's bigger than what I ever expected. There was loads of different bars, eateries, entertainment in the evening. The shows were amazing. And just like the feel of the ship, it just looked amazing. I loved the decor of Princess ships. And when I got in that bed, I mean, hands down, I still think that Princess have the best beds in the ocean. So I
remember you were, particularly on that first one, you were blown away by the service.
Oh, in the service,
you'd never experienced service to the level.
Yeah, because prior to that, I'd only done land-based holidays, so it was purely just going to like all-inclusive resorts and stuff. And when I got on here, I was just like, oh my God, they've gone above and beyond what I would ever expect on a land-based holiday. And I loved it.
Well, so would it be safe to say that you were hooked?
Absolutely. Honestly, the moment we got off, I was like, when's the next one? when are we booking the next one?
The next one wasn't long.
And how soon was the next one?
About a month.
Yeah, a month after. It was really quick.
I'd say you were hooked.
Yeah, it was very last minute as well. So what happened was we were, during COVID, we'd booked to go to Corfu in Greece.
Because the compromise, there was that I said to Jay, I was like, okay, you're getting me to do a cruise. I want to get you to do a land-based holiday because I was like, at the time, that's what I more enjoyed. But then we'd booked this Corfu holiday.
Corfu, and then when it got to about 2 weeks before we were going, and we made the mistake of going onto TripAdvisor and looking at recent reviews, and most of the reviews were pretty terrible for this hotel. Like they had a real mosquito problem and all sorts. And then you ended up looking at cruises, and then there happened to be one on the ship that I worked on, which is when we met. And it was like something ridiculous, like a week's cruise, including flights and transfers, was like 300 quid each, I think.
Yeah, really cheap.
And then we booked it, and we didn't go to Corfu. We lost our money for that. Went on onto Morella Explorer, and
no regrets though. Absolutely loved it. Like I think I would have hated that Corfu holiday. Yeah. So this was amazing.
Well, I'm glad that you got hooked. The listeners know that I'm doing sort of an informal, anecdotal tally of people getting hooked on their first cruise, and I say to people, I kind of guesstimated about 9 out of 10, and doing my tally, it's kind of supporting my guesstimate because, not everyone, but close to everyone gets hooked on that first
Yeah.
cruise.
Yeah.
So you cruise again in a month, and that was on Morella, did you say?
Yeah, Morella Explorer.
And you enjoyed that as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely loved it.
It was. I mean, for £300 each for a balcony, that was probably the best
It was
value
a steal.
cruise we've ever done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like 30% capacity, so service was like unbelievable.
Yeah,
as
the
well.
ship was empty. I was like, this is amazing.
Well, I will come back to your recent cruises, but I want to ask Jay about his cruising history, which I understand is quite extensive. So Jay, talk about your first cruise.
So I went on my first cruise with my grandparents when I was 12 in 2005 with Fred Olsen on a ship called Braemar, which left service last year. And we did the Norwegian fjords. And that all came about because when I was younger, I'd never liked hot climates. I've really changed now. But my parents, my sister used to go to hot countries. I used to go to Mexico and the Canary Islands and places like that, and it just weren't for me. So I ended up going with my grandparents on a cruise and absolutely got hooked. Like fell in love with it and came back. Pestered my parents to try a cruise. Got them to book one. They got hooked as well, and I think every year since 2005, certainly more in the last few years, but I was doing a cruise every year since 2005.
Wow. So let me back you up. You went on that first cruise with your grandparents.
Yeah.
And then you talked your parents into taking you on a cruise.
Yeah.
Had they cruised?
No, they'd flirted with the idea early 2000s, about 2001, 2002. We stayed at a hotel in Jamaica in Ocho Rios. And if you're familiar with that cruise port, the hotels are very close by, and we used to watch these huge cruise ships come in every single day, and they loved it. They went home and they looked into it, and for some reason they just never pursued it. I think it was probably because of money. I think it was just a bit out of their budget. But when I finally did convince them to try it, they got hooked, particularly my mum. And they cruise a few times a year now as well.
Oh, let me put another check mark in the hooked column. So you cruise a fair amount as a child, and then you worked on ships. Talk about that.
I mean, throughout my teenage years, I cruised a lot, and it became, an ambition and a dream at that point. I wanted to be a captain of a cruise ship one day. I actually went. So in order to get onto the degree level course in the UK, I needed A levels. So I left school with just GCSEs. So I actually went back to school, got my A levels, and then applied to Walsall Maritime Academy and got a cadetship with a ferry company called Sea Truck, which would go backwards and forwards across the Irish Sea from Liverpool to Northern Ireland. And after that, I mean, most of my experience remained on freight ferries, but I did a couple of contracts with Morella, and then all this come about.
Okay. So you're no longer affiliated with cruise ships at all, right?
No, I've still got my COC. I intend to continue to reapply for that every 5 years, so it's in date. But I can't imagine, with everything we've got on our plate at the moment, I'd ever return.
Okay.
It was a good. I mean, as I say, it was an ambition then, but I think we've got different ambitions.
It's changed now.
Okay. Now, you might have said this earlier and I missed it. Help me out. What's a COC?
It's a certificate of competency. So every officer on the bridge requires a certificate of competency, and it's also unlimited. So that authorises you to work on pretty much any vessel afloat, from ferries through to cruise ships or tankers, anything really except military.
Okay. So coming back to the recent past, share some of your highlights of cruises together after Dan got the bug, which Jay already had?
Um, I think the highlights for us, I think one that really stands out for me was our cruise on Celebrity Beyond.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
We booked Celebrity Beyond because of all the hype there is online about it. And for a week's cruise, it was probably one of the most expensive that we've done, if not the most expensive we've done for a week. And it just lived up to expectations in our views. I think,
if not more, the food was amazing, the service was outstanding, the entertainment was out of this world, and they couldn't have done more on that ship. I mean, they really went above and beyond. I remember there was one situation where I drink like Moscato wine in the evening, and I was I can't remember what restaurant it was.
In the Raw and Five.
Raw and Five, that's right. And I said, "Oh, can I have a glass of Moscato?" And they said, "Really sorry, we don't have it here." And I was like, "Okay, no worries." But then 10 minutes later, this lovely waitress came back and had said she'd gone to the other end of the ship just to get me a glass of wine for me. And it was just those little things on board that really made it special on there.
Yeah, so I think, Celebrity Beyond is one of them.
Yeah.
But I think doing the Panama Canal on Eurodam was another.
Yeah, that was another one. That was brilliant.
I am so glad that you picked Celebrity Beyond to talk about. Celebrity Beyond is my favorite ship. It truly, my Celebrity Beyond cruise was just magical. So when did you go on Celebrity Beyond?
We went in April, flew to Fort Lauderdale and went around the Caribbean and a couple of places in Mexico.
Okay.
But, it surpassed our expectations. Like we thought,
I knew it was going to be amazing.
Is it going to live up to the hype? It was very expensive, but I mean, it is just such a striking ship. It's one of those ships you just cannot help but walk around, and you just have to stop and look at everything because there's just so much artwork on there. Like there's so much thought has gone into the design of that ship.
Yeah.
It's a work of art, really.
Yeah. Love Beyond.
Yeah, I did just the opposite of you guys. I flew to London, although that wasn't my my ultimate stop. We got on Celebrity Beyond in Rome, and we did our first Mediterranean cruise.
Oh wow! Did you enjoy it?
Good. Oh my goodness! Now one thing about it, it was a 9-day cruise, and every day there was a port stop. So, but it was great for us because we had very little familiarity with Europe, only from like traveling there during our work lives, and so it was good that we got to go to so many cities in a pretty compacted period of time. Some people complain about cruising because they say that it doesn't allow you to really get all that a port stop has to offer. For us, it's just the opposite because I mean, there's no way in the world, particularly at my age, that we would see the 8 stops that we saw in land trips without, it would take a couple of years. And so even though we didn't really get to experience the culture and the nightlife and all that, all that of the port stops, we did sample the port stops. And so that's what cruising's great for that. It allows you to, as allows you to sample port stops. Now I say to myself, I've gone to some ports and say, okay, this is one we're going to come back to on a land vacation. But I've been saying that for 5 years, and I can't.
We do the same.
Yeah, I can't get myself to take a land vacation. I got cruises on my bucket list that's going to last until I'm in my for a long, long time. So I don't know when we'll go on a land trip. So what other highlights of cruises that you've done together?
I think another company which we're very big fans of, Holland America. So we did the Panama Canal on Eurodam at the start of the year. The Panama Canal has always been a bucket list cruise that I've wanted to do, and I don't think we could have done it with
a better cruise line.
I think Holland America were a very good choice to do it. And and we ended up booking so many more with Holland America as well. And yeah, I mean, we've got our wedding on New Statendam next September, going around the Holy Land. But with what's going on at the moment, I'm not sure how
What's
that
gonna
itinerary is going to look.
A destination, a cruising and destination wedding. That's ooh, that's the ultimate.
Yeah. So I think Holland America, we really value what they offer to
I think they have a great
passengers.
package as well, Holland America. They have it all packages.
Yeah,
Probably one of the best we've seen.
I mean, so there's a belief that I've always had that America's a lot more than the UK, and I find that a lot of the American lines are quite expensive compared to the British ones. But with Holland America, I feel like they've got things priced very fairly. Like it doesn't feel like they're overcharging you for drinks so much, shore excursions, specialty restaurants. Everything seems very fairly priced, and I think we're yet to find a cruise line where the service and the food actually has been as good as what it's been on Holland America.
Yeah.
What's your most recent cruise?
MSC Euribia last week.
MSC Euribia,
their newest one.
That's new. Okay, I'm not familiar with that ship, but I am very familiar with MSC because my next cruise is on MSC. It'll be my first time on MSC. Okay. It'll be the Meraviglia.
Same class.
Have you been
same class as Euribia.
Have you been on Meraviglia?
No, I've been on this, one of the other sisters, MSC Virtuosa.
Virtuosa, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, MSC has some mixed reviews in the U.S. It's funny because there's one of the bloggers from the UK tells me that's about her favorite cruise line. And
it's not our favorite.
No, not yours. Okay. All right. Well, say some more. Say some more.
Well, we're going to do our upcoming video on it soon, but
I don't like the MSC product at all.
No, never do I.
It's just not us. And I think after our experience on MSC Euribia, I think it could possibly be our last of MSC because I mean we paid for Yacht Club, which is sold as like a luxury cruise experience. And
what we experienced wasn't luxury.
We experienced. I mean, if they think that's luxury, they're living in a parallel universe because it was about as far from luxury as you can get.
It kind of feels like to me is that they call it the Yacht Club experience and they've whacked 6 stars on their logo and put people in butler suits, but that's as far as it's really gone.
It doesn't feel luxury. When you arrive, you're supposed to get priority embarkation. We didn't get it. We were actually embarked onto the ship after the lower classes, or like Bella and Fantastica. We were just plonked in the terminal, given a glass of Prosecco and just told to wait for our butler to come and get us. And then when we get on, there's no like champagne or sparkling wine waiting
for you.
And it's just little things. So I don't eat meat. And we got on, we went straight to lunch in the Yacht Club dining room, and there was very, very little choice on there for a vegetarian. So they had a meat burger on there, and I just said to the waiter, I said, can I change this for a vegetarian burger? That is a request which I make on Celebrity, Holland America, practically every cruise line. And that question was greeted with a very flat no.
Let me look into it for you.
Yeah.
Not let's see what else we can offer you. It was just a no and a turn of the back. And it was like, okay.
Really, that was the entire experience. It was other things like we'd go to the top sail lounge, which is literally one deck down one flight of crystal stairs, and you'd say, can I have a glass of Moscato? And they'd say, no, we only serve it in the dining room upstairs. And you're like, well, can you not get it? And it's like, no.
There wasn't that extra mile like I was explaining with Celebrity and Holland America. It was just what you got was what you got, and that was it. No more, no less.
Now, was this on Euribia, or am I saying it right, or Virtuosa?
So this was on Euribia. Euribia.
I mean, we did have a better experience when we did Yacht Club on Virtuosa. But
so you did Yacht Club both times?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it was better, but in hindsight, having been on like Celebrity Beyond and Holland America
since then,
we feel that the standards are actually higher on a basic cruise fare with those cruise lines than if you pay thousands of pounds to
do
do
yacht
yacht
club.
club.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that we fare better.
I was going to say, yeah, no,
And-
it was just our experience. So everyone else.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair. And I will make sure not to remind my daughters and son-in-law to listen to this podcast because it's a Christmas present for them. And
Oh, right.
and
I mean,
they know they're going, but they don't know about your reviews. So
I mean,
We'll keep that quiet for now.
one
then.
other thing I would say, just to demonstrate that it wasn't luxury, just the attitude of some of the crew in Yacht Club. Another lunchtime, we went to the Yacht Club dining room. I ordered salmon, and the salmon was raw. I mean, I cut into it, and I could tell it was the wrong colour. I felt it, and it was cold. And I said to the waiter, I said, sorry, I said, can I have something else? I said, this is raw. And he took one look at it, and he said, I think you're just picky.
oh wow!
And I've never had anyone. I mean, I a lot of people probably would say I'm picky, but I've never had a waiter turn around, especially after sending a dish back because it's raw,
Well,
and then calling you picky.
that waiter is lucky that you didn't highlight that on one of your vlogs, but it is highlighted on this podcast. So.
Exactly.
And by the way, I mean, this podcast, we probably have as many UK listeners as we have American listeners. Because UK, first of all, you know, my books and this podcast, I would say about a third of the folks that I have interviewed are from UK. So there's a lot of listenership. So let's talk about Sail Away with Dan and Jay. When and what motivated you to start Sail Away with Dan and Jay, and how's it going? I think I know the answer to that question, but you tell me in your own words.
So it started. So like we said earlier, we did Regal Princess, got the cruise bug, and then we planned to go on Morella. And that portion between going on to Morella, we both turned to each other and said, well, we'd watched reviews online. We'd gone onto YouTube and seen tours and stuff. And I was starting to get the bug. And I remember I turned to Jay in my bedroom at the time and I said, we could do this. Why don't we kind of, grab a camera and start filming a few bits and throwing it together and putting it online. And so we did. We bought a camera really quickly, didn't we, before we went on to Morella, and we filmed that and really enjoyed it. And then it just carried on. So it started off as like a little hobby or something in the background.
As a hobby.
And then every cruise we then went on, it just got more and more. So we would do a cabin tour, we would do a dining guide, we would do a drinks package, and then it just spiraled into what it's become today.
Yeah.
So did you put that first Morella cruise online?
Yeah, that's and still online.
It's a video we make a point of not watching because we feel like we've come a lot. I think a lot of YouTubers feel the same way. They very rarely look at their first few videos because
I will look back now and again and I'll go, blimey, like that was a long time ago.
We'd watch it now and we're quite self-critical. We'd watch it now and say, oh, the sound's not quite right. Oh, that's a shaky shot. Like we shouldn't have put that in.
But then it's nice to look back and see where we've come from and how much we've developed in that period.
Yeah, so I feel like the way we work, like particularly with YouTube and in general, is every videos we produce, we try and improve on the last.
We're really critical. I will always watch it back and go, right, next time I want to change that, or I want to do something with the sound here in the next video, or whatever.
And there's been many a times, like if it gets down to the Sunday when we plan to upload something and we're not quite happy with it, we'd sooner not upload it.
Yeah.
Until we've got it
perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
In preparation for this interview, I kind of gorged on your videos. They all look very professional. Or your word, cinematic.
Thank you.
And so I don't remember one that was kind of shaky. And it sounds like Morella was kind of shaky. So
if you scrolled right back to the beginning,
some people might watch it and might not notice it, but I mean, we certainly would. Like, I think we can see that we've improved a lot on like our earlier videos, and our style was changed slightly. So in our first videos, we did like a very brief cameo at the beginning, welcoming people to the video.
Quickly got rid of
that. we quickly got rid of that, and we decided that we wanted to have like a cinematic approach where, we show the very best of the ship.
Yeah, that's why we're not in the videos. We think, well, I just us personally, when we're watching a tour of a cruise ship, I want to see the ship. I don't want to keep seeing someone's face. But
over the years, we've got used to. I mean, to be honest, we don't book a cruise unless we've watched a good few videos on YouTube to see what it's like, and we wanted to create the videos that we try and
enjoyed watching.
Podcasters are sort of the same way. Many of them say, they don't listen to their first few episodes. I do. I have checked out my first one. It was very, very special one because I started with a bang. I had a kind of a global cruise personality. You might have heard. She's very big in the U.S. You might have heard of Sherry and Cruise Tips TV, and a pretty nice first time out. But sometimes I participate in some podcast groups, and so new podcasters always ask, what should they look out for, and what are the biggest mistakes they make that are made early. And in that first episode, if you listen carefully, my cell phone goes off. So fortunately, my ringtone is not obnoxious or profane. So no one has ever pointed out to me. I just told the world, but so take us through the progression, and it's a pretty condensed progression. Take us through the progression of the creation of Sail Away with Dan and Jay to being nominated for the Wave Awards.
Yeah, we were very shocked when we found out that we were on the initial list when we'd been invited to participate, but we certainly didn't expect to get to the final nomination. So we're incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
But we're, especially with the company there as well. I mean, we went on a river cruise a couple of weeks ago with Ben and David, and they were lovely, and like we've been big fans of their work. Like, I mean, no one can argue with the quality of their videos. So yeah, it's very nice.
Lovely. It's flattering to be amongst all these great people.
The best that there are.
Yes, yeah. So now, did you just run into Ben and David, or was it a Ben and David group cruise?
No, it was a press trip for Riviera. It was a river down the River Rhine, and they were on board. So was Cruise with Amber and Cruise Lifestyle. So it was that was an interesting experience. But we're very flattered that we're in the finals of the Wave Awards. Anyway.
Well, you are kind of probably downplaying it a little bit. You tell the truth. You jumped up and down.
It was more at first. It was like, oh my god, we've made it to we're on a short list of something, and then it was like, I remember when you got the email, it was like, oh, we're in the final. I was like, really?
Well, when it actually came through, we thought it was spam. We get quite a lot of spam email.
I didn't think it was real at first. I was like, no.
I was like, no, I think this is genuine.
Then there was a bit of excitement. It was like, oh my god, and then it was like we said, it's just lovely to be a part of that as well.
And we are going to go to the Wave Awards on the 13th, on the 20th. Yeah. So
really looking forward to it. Yeah.
So was this your first time making the shortlist?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, have fun in London on 13th. I have stated on social media that as soon as the winner is announced, I'm going to reach out to him or her and invite them back on the show. So I look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you. It's really kind.
In any event, win or lose, I certainly would love to have you back.
Oh, we would as well. We'd love to.
You guys do great cruising, and I know you're going. And I'll ask you shortly. What are your plans for some of the new ships coming up? So I know we're going to want to hear what's new with Dan and Jay in the future. Talk about what sounds like an exciting, massive, wonderful endeavor, Sail Away Cruise Travel Magazine.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're still playing catch up with this because it went from an idea to print in 5 weeks. It was a very
We was literally sat here on the sofa and we kind of was spitballing of like, okay, right, what is there anything else we want to try? Is there anything else we want to do?
how can we harness a greater audience, like people that aren't traditionally into YouTube videos,
But also try and do something else for the community, because there's so many like podcasts where people come over and cross over and other YouTube channels. We was kind of thinking, right, how can we create a new platform? And then I remember I turned around to you and I was like, oh, how about a magazine? I think you said to me, and it was like, yeah, why not? And then from then on, it was 1,000 miles an hour to
yeah, we wanted to create some sort of platform where cruise lovers could write for us. Because we recognise, like we just gave a bit of a scathing review of MSC Ribia, but there's going to be plenty of other influencers that are going to go on there, and they're going to have a totally different view to ours. And we wanted to create something that would allow people that love cruising as much as we do to give their views,
whether it's positive or negative,
Yeah.
whatever, a safe space where they're not going to be judged. I mean, as long as they write for us and they don't put us in prison for what they write, I don't care. But they can be as honest and truthful as they want in the magazine.
And I think we concluded that magazine was a good option for us. We've had a lot of people question the thinking behind it. Is that we've had quite a few influencers actually approach us and say, we're in a digital age. Why did you think of a printed magazine? So yes, we offer digital and print, but surprisingly, the balance actually tips in printed. Like around 65% is printed.
Wow, that's
Print's not dead.
No, print's definitely not dead.
Is it a kind of a glossy?
Yes,
glossy.
It's glossy. And every month we will have about 6 guest contributors, and they can be
Anyone
anything
from cruise YouTubers to cruise line professionals,
travel agents. And we're just trying.
We also we are in partnership with Orca, which is the charity which we've partnered up with. So every magazine
we sell, we donate £1 to that charity. So it's a good.
It's a good cause. We're trying to do some good as well.
And we can do some good along the way.
So, of your digital now, is it subscription or do you buy individual or both?
So it's both a subscription. So you can either take out a digital subscription, which is £2.95 per month, or the printed edition, which is £5.95 per month, and then you'll receive that at the start of each month.
We are going to look into coming to America soon, but we just need to work out the
plan
logistics.
is because we've had quite a few people in America and other countries like request it. But we're hoping to launch into America in December.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, of your digital subscriptions, are you getting much traction from the US?
We can't really tell at the moment, but I mean, we've had a lot of messages from Americans asking, is it possible for them to download, or is it possible for them to receive printed editions? And it's something that our web developers trying to work on at the moment, so that most countries are able to take out a subscription and access it.
Okay. Well, when you said you have several contributors each month, that piqued my interest. So that's something I'll talk to you about offline.
Absolutely.
I mean, we want as big a variety as possible. Because another thing we noticed, and we came up with the idea of a magazine, is the cruise magazines, particularly in the UK. I don't know as much about the US, but they're quite corporate, and there's more
adverts than there are articles.
Whereas we're hoping for us. I mean, obviously, we're not going to turn down companies that are wishing to take out adverts, because that's where we earn most of the money. But we want it to be predominantly editorial, something that actually engages the reader. A bit like our videos, we hope we'll make each edition better than the last.
Yeah.
So, what are you working on now at Sail Away with Dan and Jay, or is all your energy focused on the magazine?
I think realistically, the magazine will have most of our focus going forward. I think that the magazine, like even though it's only been around for a little over a month, like we've the interest that we've had from readers and big companies at
And
large,
influencers
like,
that want to be involved.
I think that will end up being bigger than the YouTube channel. But
Not to say that we'll never stop the YouTube channel,
No.
because we love doing that as well. We love creating stuff.
But yeah, I think the magazine will have most of our focus, but we'll still hopefully do one long form video for
yeah.
YouTube. You know, whether it be a review or a full ship tour each week.
Yeah.
And try and keep up with social media. But yeah, it's just trying to balance everything.
It is balancing everything. It's hard, but it's fun, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that is so exciting. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I've had I spent over 20 years as a small business owner, and even writing the books. And what I do now is entrepreneurial. So I really am big on entrepreneurial efforts like what you're doing with the magazine, and I so wish you the best.
Thank you.
So how can fans keep up with Sail Away with Dan and Jay on social media and the internet?
So we've got Instagram, obviously our YouTube channel. We've got TikTok.
All of the social
them,
media platforms. So that's the best way to follow and subscribe into our YouTube channel. But if they visit sailawaymagazine.com, they can subscribe to the magazine in either format there, or they can check out our blogs, which we try and post most days. And that's another work in progress, where we're hoping to build this website as a place of all things cruise and for people to turn to get their information quickly.
Well, I'll be promoting this episode on social media quite a bit, as you know, and you've already sent me photos. If you get a chance, send me just the cover image of the magazine.
Yeah,
so I could try to give you guys some play.
Thank you very much.
That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
So let's talk about the future. We have some great ships coming out in 24. What are you most anxious to try?
We're booked onto Utopia's maiden voyage, so we're very excited for that. That will be the first maiden voyage we've ever done. Tried to get onto Icon,
failed.
Yeah. We missed out by about a day. They'd sold all the balcony cabins, and then the cheapest grade our travel agent could get us on was a suite, which was about £20,000 each.
A bit too much, a bit too expensive for that ship.
Yeah, so we ended up booking a Holland America sailing for February instead, didn't we? But I think Utopia's maiden is going to be one of the highlights, but also our wedding on New Statendam in September.
But just ships in general that I'm excited to see, just from other content creators as well and stuff, like Cunard's new ship, Queen Anne. I'm really excited to see what people make for that ship and what I can see, because that is going to be different, I think, from what the rest of the Cunard ships look like. And obviously, Princess have got their new ships coming out, which I'll be excited to see what people cover from that aspect.
Yeah, I think 2024 is going to be a very exciting year
for the cruise industry.
Yeah, I'm booked on the new Princess ship, although I don't sail until early 25. Icon, I wanted to, check it out. It's certainly a conversation starter, but I wasn't prepared to mortgage my house in order to go.
No, agreed.
It was too much money, that ship. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what people cover and show of it, but we'll probably do that. It's a little bit cheaper, maybe.
Yeah.
So what else? Do you have anything else booked?
So we have got World America's maiden booked for 2025, but we're a bit in two minds because of what we said about MSC and our experience, that we're not sure whether to do it. We might just do it for a content opportunity rather than
enjoyment.
We as we managed to secure a place on it, we might do it, but
Now, World America, is that I understand MSC is sort of launching a luxury line or luxury
oh yeah, they launched
brand.
Explorer Journeys this year.
Which is again another cruise line I would like to check out. Because obviously it's MSC, but it's
different.
It's different. It is different. So that is something I definitely want to see if we can do at some point.
Yeah.
So is the MSC that you just named? What was it again?
World America. So it'll be sisters with World Europa. Which
so that is part of that new luxury.
No, that's not part of that one. No,
Oh.
so you've got MSC, who's got the World America and World Europa, and then you've got Explorer, which is like the sister company to MSC, which is their luxury line.
Yeah.
Okay. What's on your bucket list?
Oh, too much.
Antarctica for me. I've always wanted to do Antarctica, but
for me, I am dying to do Hawaii. At some point in my life, somehow, some way, I want to do Hawaii, but it's working out how to, because we could do a cruise from America to Hawaii, but then you're at sea for a lot of days and a week each way, or there's the cruise that goes around Hawaii, which is
Norwegian Pride of America,
which is more
considered, but I think we will. We will do them.
We will definitely do them at some point.
The reality is those longer cruises, they're just going to have to be on the back burner for a while, because especially with launching Sail Away magazine, we just can't disappear for weeks at a time because we have to send the magazines out and we have all these responsibilities. So I think for next year, most of our cruises, with the exception of our wedding, will be limited to a week or less.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I beat you guys at something. I my last cruise involved Hawaii, and it was a dream cruise. It's one you might consider because it started in Hawaii, and then it went up to Alaska.
Oh wow!
So that was two bucket list destinations in one cruise.
Yeah, amazing.
Now it's going to be tough for you guys going forward because it's 16 days, and 6 of those days, the days from Hawaii up to Alaska, that was six sea days, and all we did was eat. That's the issue with sea days.
What cruise line was that with?
That was NCL. NCL Spirit. It's the oldest ship in NCL, but you wouldn't know it. It's like brand new because they during the lockdown they did, or before the lockdown they were about to launch it. They did I think it was $150 million refurbishment. So just about everything inside and out is like new. You know who was on that cruise was Ben and David.
Oh really? Oh
wow!
Small.
Yeah.
I did NCL Spirit in 2014.
Okay, so you've been on.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a pretty nice ship then. So after an extensive refit, it must
been lovely. Yeah.
Yep. What else on your bucket list? Anything?
Galapagos.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But again, I mean, just funds at the moment. I mean, we try and, when we book cruises, we try and do it with our business head on and try and work out what's cost effective. And like to do the Galapagos, like £8,000 or £9,000 each, you just can't justify that at the moment. But we know we'll do it one day.
One day, yeah. So it's on the list.
Are you familiar with Ship Monk, Dave Monk?
Yes, we know of them.
Yeah. He was on the podcast, and he turned down 2, press invites or what, media trips to Galapagos. Can you imagine being in a position to turn down Galapagos twice because of other, there were other things on his plate. So I always ask interviewees what's on their bucket list, and Galapagos, Australia, Panama Canal, they're always at the top.
Yeah. To be honest, the one we were doing for our wedding, that was high up because we've always wanted to do Egypt, but I think we're trying to not think about the destination so much because of everything that's going on
in the world at the moment.
In that region at the moment. I don't know if we'll be going to Egypt or not. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the cruises, to be honest with you, they're done out of Southampton. They're destinations we do again and again and again, and it's just so we can cover the ship. But we try and do a couple or a few cruises each year, which are more for the destination.
Yeah. The port that we've probably done the most is Amsterdam and
I mean,
Rotterdam.
We've been to Amsterdam and Rotterdam 13 times in the last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's where the ships go from Southampton for a mini cruise, so we're constantly there, but not begrudgingly because we love it there anyway. But
so the shopkeepers probably know you now.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, by name, yeah.
So we're going to shift gears. I like to ask a couple of light cruise questions, or maybe even fun cruise questions, depends on on one's perspective. The first is just kind of a softball for me to get some ideas. I get lots of great ideas from passionate cruisers like yourselves. So what's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
So for me, I've got a thing for New Zealand wine. So when I go away, I'm basically living on New Zealand wine. Not when I'm filming.
No, obviously not.
But yeah, so that would be my drink. And food, I love Asian food, and tamarind on Holland America. I'm yet to have a meal as good as that.
Yeah.
Like the food there is just crazily good, and it's not even that expensive. I think it's like $35 each or something like that. So that's mine.
I think for me, I'm quite simple. So like, if I'm bound by the pool, it's a pina colada, and in the evenings, like I said earlier, like is a glass of Moscato, depending if the ship has it. If not, then simple soul vodka lemonade. But food, I love a really good veggie burger, not one that's like just like a bit of sweet. What's the one
mashed up
vegetables into a patty? Like that one, I don't really like. But like Holland America, for example, their poolside veggie burgers are some that I would pay good money for.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Five Guys, and it's included.
It's that you can have different varieties of veggie burgers or different varieties of meat burgers or hot dogs or whatever it might be. So that for me is probably my absolute favorite.
Now, are you also I know Jay mentioned he's a vegetarian. Are you also a vegetarian?
So I kinda. So I don't eat like red meat or anything, but I still eat chicken. So for me, when I go on a cruise ship, because I still eat chicken, it's something I will always, like when I'm reviewing stuff, I will always order a chicken dish because I can judge that across the line, across all cruise ships. So sometimes chicken's really good on a cruise. Sometimes chicken's really, really bad on a cruise. So, but yeah, chicken and fish.
You don't eat red meat.
No red meat. Just for
you eat seafood?
Yeah, I love seafood. I love sushi as well. So again, like Raw and Five is another one of my favorite restaurants on Celebrity. But yeah, quite simple tastes really.
I've eaten at Raw and Five. My all-time favorite specialty restaurant is on Beyond Le Voyage.
That is up there.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Actually,
food there was incredible.
Yeah, I forgot about that, and I would do that again in a heartbeat. Actually, there's some specialty restaurants that I've done that I'd say I've done once and I probably wouldn't do again, but that one actually I would.
And the decor of that venue, I mean, it's just so different. It's so futuristic. As a whole, like that was just a fantastic.
And I liked how you could have done the wine pairings as well, like for every single dish. It was a really thought out restaurant. I loved it.
I've been saying, I participate in various discussion groups, what have you, and I always point out that the best food I've ever had was on Celebrity Beyond, but that's going to be tested because everyone keeps talking about the food on Virgin. So I'm booked on Virgin. Have you been on Virgin?
We're not. That is high on our list to do Virgin. Yeah, but for me personally, I think there's things I'm going to really like about Virgin, and I think there's things that I'm not going to like about Virgin. But I'm going to reserve my full judgment until I step foot on one day.
Yeah, I mean, we said exactly the same when we met Ben and David on that river cruise. Like as you'll know, they're quite big fans of Virgin, and I mean, they did sell it to us. We have got our preconceptions. Like, I think the swimming pool's a ridiculous size, and I'm not a big fan of how the cabins look and that.
But the food,
I've never heard anyone say a bad word about the food
or the service. So
the entertainment gets a good write up, and I know. I mean, Virgin Richard Branson, he's from the UK. Like, with a lot of the Virgin brands, the standards are very high. I mean, it's our favourite airline.
Yep.
Like, we find that Virgin Atlantic are far better than British Airways and that. So, we're looking forward to trying them.
We will do it. We will do it soon, definitely.
Well, I'm booked in April. So, maybe sometime around that time, we'll have you back to fill us in on all the great things that you're doing and on how the magazine is doing. And then I can, share my reflections.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I would love to. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
So the second light or fun question, what's your most memorable or funniest or outlandish or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
I think for us,
was when we got engaged.
When we got engaged was probably the most memorable. I mean, I will never ever forget it for how lovely it was, but for also what I did in the situation. Go on, Joe, I'll let you explain.
Yeah,
it.
So I put quite a lot of effort in, like, planning this cruise on Navigator of the Seas to do the Mexican Riviera last November, and had it all planned out in my head. Like, Dan's not usually into the formal nights, and it was a formal night on Navigator, and I had to really twist his arm to go and get into his tux and his suit.
I remember saying to him, like, can't be bothered. Can't we just go to the buffet tonight? And he's like, no, let's dress up. And I'm like, okay, twist.
Finally managed to get him ready, and while he was getting ready, I was setting up on the balcony. I got the champagne ready. I got his engagement ring on the table and ready, and everything like that. All set and ready, and Dan is a bit clumsy, and he comes onto the balcony. I pop the question, and out of sheer excitement,
I jump
he
up.
knocks over the champagne,
the glasses,
knocks over the flutes.
Everything smashes, the whole thing on the balcony. So there's me in tears, like, I'm so excited, but trying to pick up shards of glass at the same time.
And it was just
it was just me. It was us.
Yeah,
it was a moment, but that's probably the most memorable.
Well, the social media saying, photos or it didn't happen.
We took the photo afterwards. We didn't show the smash.
Yeah, we just didn't get to. We just didn't get to drink the champagne.
No, it was a lovely gesture though.
Well, that is very romantic, and congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
The last light question, I actually call this an oddball question because it oddball only in that it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with cruising. So you have a large following. So welcome to the many Sail Away with Dan and Jay fans and friends and family listening. And I hope, Dan and Jay friends and family, that you've enjoyed what you've heard and will come back to the Joy of Cruising podcast. We'd certainly love for you to join us regularly. Share one thing that my listeners and your fans and friends don't know about Dan and about Jay.
So I'm quite boring. If you hadn't have already known, I would have probably told you that I used to be in the Merchant Navy, but Dan also had a career that he wanted to pursue.
So before doing cruising and everything that was done now, I actually wanted to be an
air steward.
An air steward. I applied. I went to an assessment day. I had this whole dream of, working on an airplane, but then they turned around to me and said I was too short. At the time, they said that I had to be a certain height to reach the overhead bins without tiptoeing, and I was too short. So that kind of crushed my career there. And then I think the rules have changed now anyway for the height regulations on it. But no, I wanted to travel the world, but I'm doing it in a different way via cruise ships instead of on an airplane.
Yeah. Doing it in a better way.
Exactly.
Yeah. It happened for a reason. You were made short for a reason.
Exactly.
What about you, Jay?
I don't really know.
Well, I know you said the Merchant Marine would have been your thing that people don't know about you. So we all know that. So you got to come up with something else.
I don't really know.
It is not much that people wouldn't know. That's the thing.
No,
Like, there's
I'm quite forthright. If I think something, I usually say
say it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I haven't got any tattoos.
The one he always goes to is that he worked in the Merchant Navy. That is because we don't normally mention it in the videos. We never really say, your past.
Yeah, because
prior to that
doesn't come up so much. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is anything to know really.
You're not that boring,
No.
are you?
Well, here's, and I'm sorry if this is a dumb question. When I hear the word Navy in the U.S., that connotes more a militaristic.
Yeah.
So the Navy is the military here. What does Merchant Navy mean? Because when I saw that, when I first saw that in your information, I kind of thought that was a military service.
In the UK, you have the defence of the country, which is the Royal Navy. So that's our military. And then the Merchant Navy covers civilian vessels. So that can be everything from ferries through to oil tankers. So pretty much everything that isn't military is classed as being in the Merchant Navy.
Yeah.
So any vessel you see flying what's called the flag, the red ensign, which is a red flag with the Union Jack in the top left corner, that is part of the British Merchant Navy.
Okay. Thank you. Well, Dan and Jay, thank you for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast, and continue all the best to sail away with Dan and Jay, and good luck with your exciting new venture, Sail Away Cruise Travel Magazine. As I said, I have vowed that the winner is will be back on the Joy of Cruising podcast as soon as announced in November. So you may be back very soon, but in any event, I already know that you'll be back, and
absolutely
look forward to having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
All righty, and as they say, I'll see you on the ocean.
See you on the ocean.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.